Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and right now Fortune's Keep has been brought into Warzone, so finally we get to see what this new map is going to be and how it plays. So after having played about a dozen matches yesterday upon release, I'm just going to try and give my best opinion and what I think about the map. So of course there are three primary points of interest, being Town, the Keep being the Castle, and Winery. Keep is actually split into 2 or 3 different areas: Keep, Terrace, and Gatehouse, but they are all very connected, so there's not really a reason to call them one thing or another. They all pretty much play as just one big building. And so how does this map match up with Rebirth, and what are the good and bad places to be in? So of course right now the grotto and the center area that is not listed or not named is really the weakest part of the map, so definitely do try to avoid those areas as much as possible. They are okay if you have to run in and out of a point of interest, but you are better off just trying to work your way into Keep or Winery. Definitely try to limit your stay in that area, especially if there are other teams that are there. This area is lower than the other points of interest, so anyone looking from the buildings of Winery, from the Gatehouse towers, or even from the town roofs, they can see that area pretty well. So there are blind spots, there are plenty of blind spots, so you're not just stuck there getting shot at from 3 different angles. But you definitely don't want to stick there for too long. There are ways to get underground into the grotto from this area. There are some tunnels as well as some zip lines. And if you can see, there's actually a second entrance that you can get into. And not only that, but the grotto also opens up to the Smuggler's Cove underground. So you actually do have a few ways to work your way around there. You're not just stuck in just the top section of this empty area. I haven't dropped on Town directly, but I did drop in Graveyard, and that was a bit of a fight. Graveyard is a kind of a warm spot to land in. You don't want to stick in Graveyard for too long because again it is at a lower elevation compared to the rooftops of Town and the towers by Terrace and Gatehouse. Limit your stay there, but it is okay enough to drop in. Town is a very complex area. I was expecting more of the buildings to be open, but they are not, which is actually a good thing. But it is a little difficult to work in and out of Town, especially if you don't know which buildings are available. There is a lot of rooftops there. A lot of the rooftops do connect, so there are ways to rooftop hop and drop down and lose your opponents that are trying to chase you down. It is very possible to do that. I've done that a few times already. But Town is just one of those areas where I feel you want to avoid unless the ring takes you there. So unless it is like mid to late game, better off just avoiding Town and actually finding your way into it rather than being in Town to begin with and finding your way out. It just seems like a harder spot to get out of than it is to get into. Next to Town, there is a smaller point of interest called Overlook. It's pretty much just a part of Town. It just has a larger street that runs or that disconnects it from it. But that is at a higher elevation than Town, so if you do want to find yourself there, you can get a decent overlook of the town overall. So depending on what's going on, you can see where you want to jump into, or you can just stay up there and try to snipe people off. Moving onwards to the Keep, Terrace, and Gatehouse, I'm going to address this all pretty much as just one area. There are towers in Keep, and the towers actually do have 2 different staircases that go up. So if you do time it right, you and your teammates can go up the separate staircases and end up just flanking whoever it is that's up there. It is going to be harder to maintain control of these towers because of the different ways you can get up there. There are a lot of jump spots in this map, so I don't doubt that there's a way to jump into like a higher side of the tower. Maybe not the rooftop, but there is a middle section there that you can probably climb your way into instead of having to use the stairs. So definitely a lot of different directions that you can use, a lot of different angles. The map is very intricate in comparison to what we've had before in any other map. There are not a whole lot of jump spots in Rebirth, really in Rebirth Island. Over here you got jump spots in Town, you got jump spots in just about every location. And you're going to find yourself being very mobile in this map. There's going to be a lot of different directions and ways you can take a fight and be able to get up to a rooftop that you thought, or that you normally would not be able to do so in the previous maps, in any previous maps, Verdansk included. I haven't had too much time playing in the main building in Keep. Keep does have multiple floors, multiple levels, so again, it is very easy to lose whoever's trying to shoot you down. So again, you do have a lot of that mobility factor. And so long as you do have those kind of weapon builds that allows for mobility, you're going to find yourself being very successful in these close quarters combat matches, because there's not a whole lot of long areas in these actual point of interest themselves. You will find yourself shooting people from the tower to the grotto, or from the town rooftops, and even in Winery, but whatever you're actually inside these areas, they are very closed off, and this could account for some really intense close quarters combat, and confusing as well. I should also add that. And I do like confusing. I do like confusing my opponents. I do like having those options of going up and down different routes and just completely losing them. This map is almost tailor-made to allow you to escape gunfights. There are a few trouble areas that are always going to be difficult to get in and out of, but you'll have to expect that in different maps. So long as you're actually within the heart of these point of interest, the primary interest, town, keep, and winery, there's more than likely 1 or 2 ways you can get out of a fight. And then going to the last big point of interest being Winery. Winery is more straightforward than any of these other areas. Almost every building does have a second floor, and there's also an underground in Winery as well that leads out to the bayside. And there's also an underground entrance that goes out towards Lighthouse. So there you do again have options to get out of Winery, and also if you wanted to land warm, you can land at Lighthouse or at the Bay area, and then find those entrances. And then from there you can end up surprising anyone who's holding up in Winery still. So now that we got the main points of interest taken care of, what about camping or camping spots and so on? There are going to be people camping. Right now a lot of people are trying to make some cheesy plays of just sitting in a corner or sitting in some blind spots to try and get the upper hand. And it does work. So yeah, camping is very useful right now. We'll have to see how useful it will be in the future. It will always be useful. It's always a decent tactic to use. I know not a lot of people like to use camping. I don't either. There are a lot of power positions in this map, especially in the tower. In town, there's a church building that has a tower in it, so you're not away from people just sniping at you from a distance. It is going to happen. There are not a whole lot of sniping going on, at least in the matches I was in. Not effective sniping anyways. There are about 3 or 4 snipers I ran into out of the dozen matches I played. Just keep that in mind. You will run into sniper here or there, but it's not dominated by snipers. Sniping is an option, but you would have to be playing in a very particular way. When you do get into this map, you are going to see like, oh, there's not a whole lot of elevation other than the towers or the rooftops. So it's not like in Rebirth where you can just sit up in the prison rooftop and just shoot people down. Or to be in the tower, or to snipe from the living quarters or from the new stronghold tower. There's not a whole lot of sniping options here, which is actually pretty good. It does account for a lot more close quarter, mid-range combat, and so you would really need an aggressive sniping build. So definitely bring out your marksman rifles, whichever ones you feel is going to be the quickest and easiest for you to scope in and out of. This map is going to be very aggressive with its mid-range combat, mid-range to close range combat. And so yeah, that's just about covers everything that I have to say right now about the map. I think right now the way it sits is it's pretty well. It fits pretty well. It has the same spirit as the Rebirth Island map, where you do have different options. You're not just stuck to one place. And camping is always going to happen. It happens in Rebirth. It's going to happen here. More times than not, it is going to come down to whoever has, you know, the better location. You know, whoever got to the ring first, whoever's sitting on the rooftop. You know, rooftop campers, sure, there's nothing there that would prevent someone from taking down a rooftop camper. There's a lot of versatility in the map. There's a lot of intricate areas in the map. You're not really going to get caught out in the open unless you end up in the open. Definitely, if you are starting to get into this game or starting to get into the match, I would recommend trying to go into Winery depending on the rotation. If a lot of people are landing there, you may not want to go there, but if you see 1 or 2 squads, there's plenty of loot there for about 3 squads in my opinion. 3, maybe 4 squads. So you can get away with it, but do expect to have some very aggressive gunfights there. And over at Keep, Gatehouse, and Terraces, that whole entire castle area, that's probably the safest place for new players to jump into. But you don't want to jump into like the primary building. You just want to jump into like one of the smaller buildings and just feel your way around those areas. And so just the more familiar you are with those areas, the better off you're going to be. And you're going to see that, okay, I can jump out of the 2nd floor, go into the 1st floor, and then find my way around, get back into the 2nd floor of another building, and just kind of move around from building to building without being stuck in the open or being forced into a very heavy gunfight like you would in Winery. And again, if you do want to try something different, I can also recommend Graveyard, but it's more of a toss-up there. Sometimes it will work, sometimes it won't. But it's really up to you to decide what you're going to do with that. So in any case, those are my primary thoughts, my first initial impressions. Let's see how the map plays out with with a few more days and with some more people figuring out more ideas and more of the map, and whether or not the map is going to end up getting very stagnant, or if the map continues to rotate pretty well, and what will come up from that. Enjoy the rest of the video, and until next time, I am Mr. Rain, and I will see you then.
We can go back and get our shit.
Buy stationary.
What should I buy? All of us are still up.
Okay.
Let me get UAV up. I'll do that. I can't.
On me, on me.
I have no bullets.
Behind the container.
I got him. There's only 2 other teams. And they don't have that many people.
They're just to our left.
They're across the quarry bridge.
I bet they were down on this.
The guy bounty up,
Could be
so.
underground. They might be underground.
You see the smoke?
Yeah.
Right here. That right behind this box.
Yeah. He's dropped, he dropped.
No.
We dropped to the left.
We just have
Down
to
the
get
hill.
on high ground.
Tagged him a few times. He's over here in this corner.
You're way out.
One's down here as well, broken.
They're moving, bro. This kid's just running like a pussy.
Let's go to run back in somehow.
I'm going for the big game.
I think it's way up over there.
Yeah, there's stairs up there.
There's one over here somewhere by Buster.
Yeah, I'm seeing him.
Do you see him,
Drop
boy?
his bell. He dropped his bell. Oh, he just
He's rezzing.
Spot 2.
2 in.
Oh, he buys his car.
Yeah, I bought teammates back. Landing in the ravine. I got this guy.
Somebody just landed on us. Orange. Under. Let's see.
Up here still? Up here?
I got it.
He's pushing. I got. There we go. Behind you, purple. I don't know if he's elevator or what. I got the mark on him. Should be in like one of those buildings. I got him on
Right here,
monitor.
he's right here. Or he's underground. He's underground.
I fell.
Last person.
One person.
He's one.
Well done.
He said no like he was about to 1v4 us.
That's not happening.
Nice.